From Darling Stadium in Hampton, WHES Cable Channel 5 presents Peninsula District Soccer. Hampton Crabbers and the Phoebus Phantoms. Tim Cole along with Bob Hintz, and we welcome you to Darling Stadium for this battle between the Phoebus Phantoms and the Hampton Crabbers. There you see the officials, or at least you saw them. Antonio Ariza is our referee. Hal Schmidt and Don Reese, there you see them again, are the linesmen this afternoon for this contest. Game time here, the temperature is cooling down a bit, low to mid 70s. It's not a very humid day at all, and the sun will be looking into the eyes of the players, or I should say the players will be looking into the sun. The Hampton team will be facing the sun in the first half. I do want to correct myself from an earlier contest. I mentioned there are 45-minute halves. No, they're not. They're 40-minute halves. And the clock runs rather continuously, stopping only occasionally for injuries or the like.
Well, I was talking to Joel Moore, the coach for the Hampton Crabbers, and they are in second place, Tim, and the one of the losses they have is to the Lafayette Rams, who's in first place, and he said we lost that game without 5 of our starters who were either injured or interviewing for going to college and whatever, and as we talk about them, you'll see some of the GPAs we're talking about. So they are an excellent team, and this is an important contest to them because it'll keep them in second place and give them a chance to advance to the regionals.
And Hampton, of course, in the red shorts with the white shirts. Phoebus in the blue and gold. And we are underway from Darling Stadium. Tim Cole and Bob Hintz. This game videotaped on the 11th of May, 1994.
And Hampton has the leading scorer in the district, Tim, and I can't remember his name right now, but I know Monday he had
Eric Schaffner
had a hat trick Monday. In Monday's game, he had 3 goals.
And I believe we have the lineups for the two teams, and as time allows, we will give those to you.
I know that I was talking to Coach Pete Powell of the Phantoms, and he says, we are going to shadow Schaffner. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, we're going to have somebody behind him and then somebody playing heads up, so they're going to basically double team him. And their goal today is not to let him score.
Schaffner is the leading scorer with 21 goals. First team All-District last year and has a B average. He'll also be attending Longwood College next year. Joel Moore, the coach over at Hampton, Pete Powell at Phoebus. Phoebus comes into this contest with a 6-7 overall record, and they are 2-6 in the district. And they have been in a number of games till late, only to see the lead go away, and the Hampton Crabbers have scored first early here in the first half. I believe that was number 5, John Leonard, who scored.
And there's, you see the Hampton lineup, Tim. Chris Altman and Lindsey Sharp are the forwards. Schaffner, John Leonard, Jeff Bornstein, and Todd Martin are the midfielders for the Crabbers. And then we'll get the rest of the lineup here as the Phantoms put it in play. The backs are Thomas Boland, Joel Almquist, Larry Shepard, and the sweeper is Kevin Millette, and the goalie, and I didn't get to see who the goalie was, Adrian Check.
And here's a replay. You'll see the goal scored by the Crabbers. This is going to be Leonard breaking in a group of Phoebus Phantoms. He just blew right by them and scored against Chris Schulteis, the goaltender for Phoebus. We'll give you the Phoebus lineups in just a moment.
Well, Phoebus plays 5 men plus their goalie back, Tim. They are also defensively minded like the Bethel Bruins were. He changes his lineups according to the positions the other team is in in the district and how many goals they score and all.
Win it, win ball, win ball. Step up, man, man. Don't flash the key. Drop! 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 Mark up! Man. Watch the man, Jeff.
You'll be able to clearly hear the communication between the two teams. We've got a field side mic. And a lot of the time, we're just going to let you hear the action and see the action, as we saw Eric Schaffner with the ball just a moment ago.
Get back and more! Get up, Joe. Get up, boy. Get up, Sarah. Are you marking him or Dan? Do it quick. Keep it. All right, Lord. Find your man. You'll find somebody. Don't be scared, Josh.
As you mentioned, Bob, Hampton's only defeat this season at the hands of Lafayette. They are 7-1 in the district.
You know, it's got to give them a lot of confidence that they have played as well as they have, and the loss that they had was, and I'm not really trying to make any excuses for them, and nor was Joel Moore the coach, but when you're without 5 of your starters, it's and you're against the top team in the district, it really says a lot for your team to come back and play as well as they have and go from there. So very likely we could see this Hampton Crabber team in the regional playoffs this year.
John, man coming, man on. Stay on him, man.
You and I noticed in the first game, and I was talking with someone between games, the fact that one of the few sports that I'm aware of in high school where you do in fact have boys and girls competing on the same teams.
And both of these teams have young ladies on them.
Well, as a matter of fact, the goaltender for Hampton is a young lady.
Hampton, get a head on it.
And a good one.
Lindsay, get ahead.
Batted over the top of the goal by the goalkeeper. And I keep saying goaltender. The goalkeepers are goalies. I should correct myself. I guess the goaltender comes from the hockey
I was going to say
background.
It's too warm for hockey, Tim, out here today.
Breeze is blowing across the field towards us. And again, an excellent opportunity, and the Crabbers are unable to head it into the goal. Boy, those corner kicks and throws from the corner really make for dangerous situations. Substitutions are allowed during the game. You'll notice throughout the game both coaches will make substitutions.
But the ball has got to be out of play like it is on the sideline and all before they can make an attempt to substitute. And I believe your team has got to have the ball before you can bring in players. You can't bring in players when the other team has the ball. If my memory serves me correctly. And Pete Powell over there at Phoebus, Tim, said that he's had a lot of, he doesn't have many players. He's got basically 13 players. Now you notice on the bench he has some more because he's brought up some JV players. But when you play with 13, you don't get but 2 substitutes. That makes it a you really have to be in good condition.
Hampton again on the attack. And the Phantoms are able to clear it. And we get a chance to run down the Phoebus Phantom lineup. That's Tho Hung, forward 21, Chris Batten, Brett Ewer, Mark Gunther, and Jeff Fairchild. Josh Tucker, Derek Dietrich, Rich Daughtery, Matt Devine, and Josh Jones. And Chris Schultheis is the goalie. And again, we apologize right up front if we mispronounce these names. We are not particularly familiar with the players on these squads, and we apologize if we mispronounce the names. I do know one that you were running down on the Hampton squad. I wanted to make sure that we had pronounced correctly. That was Thomas Bolin from Sweden.
Oh, okay.
You may have said Thomas, but that was a natural turn.
Tomas. Forget Scotty to turn on the other mic. I have Alan Lindsay with me, the coach for the Kecoughtan Warriors, just come off of a nice victory against the Bethel Bruins.
Go ahead and give it a try. I think we're live.
Yeah.
You're on.
Okay, thanks, Scotty. I appreciate it.
Great game. You had 4 goals from young Mr. Moore.
I tell you, for basketball player, he's a pretty good soccer player. He's just a terrific athlete, and he works real hard. He's our leading goal scorer right now. I think he's got 12 goals now. That's pretty good for us, considering we're so young.
Now, I was noticing that you don't have many seniors on your team. Let's talk a little bit about this Hampton team. The only loss they had, of course, was to Lafayette early in the season, and Joel told me that he had 5 players that were either injured or in college going through some interviews and were not available for that game.
Yeah, well, that was unfortunate for Hampton because I think they're definitely the second best team in the district. They definitely have 2 of the finer players in the district, in Eric Schaffner and John Leonard, and they're just terrific players. And they'll probably, knowing John and Eric, they'll probably knock a couple in tonight if they have the kind of usual games they do.
In fact, John Leonard already has scored, so he has the only goal in the game. But right now, Hampton is ahead 1-0.
Okay, well, if you watch this game, you'll notice that Hampton's not as deep as a lot of teams in the district. But Joel's done a heck of a job, and his kids know what they're supposed to do, and they don't tax themselves. Like John right here, he'll pick his runs. He should go to goal right around there because he's probably quicker than everybody in the league. That's a nice little save by the goalkeeper there. John's just a bigger and better athlete than everybody else in the district, I think. Not diminishing his soccer skills. He has great skills, but on top of having good skills, he's so quick and so strong.
Well, I know that Pete Powell told me that one of the things they were going to do was shadow him. Explain a little bit about what they mean when you talk about shadowing a player.
That's when you're going to eliminate one of your player's offensive responsibilities, and his only goal is to try to keep that young man from touching the ball. Now, if number 20 is shadowing Leonard, he's just lost him. Okay, the number one thing you want to do defensively is make the other team play in front of you. We tried to shadow Leonard, and all it did was eliminate one of my better players. Sometimes, I'm not sure how you defend John Leonard. And the worst part is if you defend him, Eric Schaffner will kill you.
Well, you hope that they graduate real soon, right?
That's the best way to defend them.
Oh, yeah, I feel like Schaffner and Leonard have been playing high school ball for about 10 years now.
As an opposing coach, it only seems that way.
Yeah, I think I played against him once at Kecoughtan. I don't know.
Let's go back a few years.
Yeah, that's a little too far, yeah. This Phoebus team, we played them the other night, and we came from behind to defeat them 2-1. Pete Powell's done an excellent job because he's very young, and they're not real deep, but they play a good low-pressure defense. If you watch the game, you'll notice they'll have most of their players inside their field. They'll just try to counterattack and to make the other team come forward so they can play behind them.
Well, they're similar to what the Bethel does then. They play a lot of people defensively and then counterattack.
Which is a good idea. When you're not as strong as some of the other teams in the district, it's the best way to play. And against us, it almost worked. As a matter of fact, they had Lafayette, I think, 1-0 at halftime. They were down only 1-0 at halftime.
He had mentioned that they are a great first half team.
Yeah, well, I think that's where depth probably comes into play. Here's Lindsay. I think he's through here. That's a nice goal.
Did you get that number, Tim?
Was that Lindsay or?
Yes, that was Lindsay.
Yeah, okay. So that's Lindsay Sharp scoring for the Crabbers.
Yeah, well, see, that's the other thing about Hampton. If you get Eric and you get John, then Lindsay's liable to do something like that to you. The thing about it's overlooked with Hampton is, even though the other people are role players, they have some very, very good players. Like Kevin Millette in the back. If there's a quicker guy in the league, I'd like to see him. He's a pretty good defender. And the other guys who play, they know their roles. They don't try to tax themselves. And they do a good job of getting the ball to their stars.
Let me ask you, Alan, to describe, if you will, what happened on this. Is the replay of the goal. If you can see the screen there.
I'm kind of shaded down here. Oh, look. He just brought the ball down nicely and hit a far post shot. I think what it is his man lost his mark. Hampton will play over top of you because they do have some good people. I'm not quite sure who hit that restart, but that was a quality restart. Anytime you score on a goal like that, half the battle is getting a good kick off the restart. A lot of our problems this year have been that we can't place the ball exactly where we want it. There's John Leonard receiving the ball in his patented turn move. See, that was a good combination for them because they got the ball from John to Lindsay, and he almost got it back to Eric, who are three of the better players in the league. I don't know who that guy on the wing is, but he's pretty quick, too.
Well, Pete Powell had told me, he got basically 13 players, so they evidently are getting wore out in the second half, but he's brought up some JVs, but it sounds like he's done a great job over there for the Phantoms.
He has. I mean, considering, I'm not demeaning these kids' talent, but they'll be the first to tell you they're a little undermanned, but they're staying in games. They're not going out and getting blown out, and they play good soccer. They just don't kick it up the field and chase and hope for the best. They try to knock it around. They play good, solid, low-pressure defense. The problem with low-pressure defense is if you give up an early goal, it's a letdown.
Right.
When we played them, we made the critical errors. We let them score first, and they got very pumped up, and they packed it back even further. So that's the situation they're looking for there. They try to score off restarts and counterattacks. If he'd have curled that ball around a little bit more, they might have had a shot on goal number 19 over here on the right wing. There's Adrian Check. He's another guy I wish would hurry up and graduate. He's been just phenomenal all year long. I came and scouted the Menchville game the other night, and Adrian did a heck of a job.
How does the Peninsula District tournament shape up right now? It looks like you're going to end up in third place behind Hampton. Will that mean you'll play Hampton in the first round?
Yes, sir. That's a good game because the kids all know each other. Most of them are friends until they cross the white lines, and that's a good game by Eric. It'll be a good game. Hampton's got to be the favorite. They've only lost one game in the district all year, and we've had 3 defeats. The key thing for us is we'll have to figure out a way to stop Schaffner and Leonard. It's a bigger field, so it's going to work one of two ways. Either they're going to get worn out and have to cover more space than they're used to, or else they'll kill us because there's more space for them to run into.
That'll be played where, Alan?
That'll be at Cooley Field in Williamsburg.
In Williamsburg. And when is that coming up so some of the fans can put that on their calendar?
That'll be next Tuesday, and I'm not quite sure of the game time. It's probably going to be 4:30.
Tuesday, and that would be the 17th. 17th of May.
And so you're talking then that you will play a game, and then the number 1 and number 4 team will also play at the same time?
They'll play the game after us. They'll play the late game. Last year, as a matter of fact, what they did is they had the number 1 seed play the early game, which I think is a better thing to do because that way the 2 and 3 teams know what they're capable of. That was a good effort by Lindsay. Instead of trying to drive the ball, he tried to chip it over the goalkeeper. That was an intelligent play. What happens if the number 1 seed plays the early game? When the 2 and 3 get there, they realize if the number 1 seed has won their game, then a regional berth is definitely at hand. And it usually makes for a more exciting game.
Of course, that's a good point.
Of course, we don't know who the number 4 seed is going to be. It's going to be some vague mathematical equation to figure out the tiebreaker system.
Who are the teams in contention for the 4th seed? Denby and...
No, Gloucester and Menchville. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head, so of course they tied each other. That's a little obstruction foul there. And then it's going to the second tiebreaker is goal differential, which is you get points for every goal you score up to 4, and then goals against factors into that. So the scores in today's games would be critical. I'm not sure who Menchville's playing today, but I know that Ferguson is playing Gloucester, and that should be a good game. Ferguson's not a bad team at all. They're another good young team in the district.
Well, have you found that the soccer as a whole in the Peninsula District has improved the skill level, the teams in general, that all the teams are playing better now than they were, say, 2 or 3, 4 years ago?
I'm not quite sure. It's so hard to say. There are more good teams in the district now, okay? With the exception of a couple of the kids from Lafayette, John and Eric, you don't seem to be getting the great player. The guy that just, you look up and you're, wow, we've got to stop him. There are a lot more good players. Okay, we really don't have anybody standing out for a lot of the teams. You know, somebody's a star. Like for us, you know, I don't have an Eric Long or a David Bonde type player. You know, we just try to work real hard and ugly some goals and win games. Like, Phoebus doesn't really have a star. Unfortunately, Lafayette has about 7 of them. There's John Leonard taking a little dive there, take a little break.
Was he trying to catch a whistle?
He realized he'd pushed the ball too far ahead, so he figured he'd take a dive. Maybe the referee would buy it, maybe he wouldn't. Which is an intelligent play because he'd lost possession of the ball anyway, so why not take a dive and see if the referee plays the call.
There you go.
If you watch the game, you can really, if you keep an eye on John Leonard, you'll see he doesn't make wasted runs. He'll stay back there, he'll hang around in midfield, and then he'll take off when he's sure he can counterattack.
Huh.
You can truly see the skill of Leonard and Schaffner quite apparent on the field.
Oh, they're just tremendous players. I'm not sure where they're going to play their college ball, but I'm sure they'll be very successful.
Well, I want to congratulate you on a fine season. I mean, you were not picked to maybe 7th place, and
a lot of people were saying 7th, behind Denby and maybe behind Ferguson.
And you have a team that we had talked about that had nobody coming back that had varsity experience. So
no, actually we had several players that had varsity experience, just no starters.
No starters from the varsity.
We had 6 guys returning that had varsity experience. So for us to finish 3rd in a district that's as even as ours, that was just a major accomplishment. I'm not saying we're just going to go up to Lafayette, to Cooley Field and be happy to be in the tournament. We're going to go up there with the intent of trying to get into the regional playoffs. But just to finish 3rd with a young team like we have and some of the injuries we had this year, I'm very satisfied. I know you can't tell when you hear me coach, but I'm very happy with my team.
We're listening with, talking with Alan Lindsay, the head coach at Kickintan. You're watching the Hampton Crabbers and the Phoebus Phantoms. I'm Tim Cole along with Bob Hintz. The game coming to you from Darling Stadium on the 11th of May, 1994. The Hampton Crabbers, 2nd in the Peninsula District with a single loss, that at the hands of the Lafayette team out of Williamsburg. And the Phantoms with a 6-7 overall record, 2-6 in the district.
Don't stop.
Hampton ahead right now on the strength of goals by both John Leonard and Lindsey Sharp. They lead 2-0 as we are here in the first half of this contest.
John Leonard's got a nice turn in there in the box. He's real good in tight spaces because he is so strong you can't bump him off the ball. If you get a chance to watch the sweeper back for Phoebus, he played a tremendous game against this Josh Jones. I believe he's either a freshman or a sophomore. He reads the game very, very well.
Well, I can tell you where he is.
He's a freshman.
Is just a freshman. And another young man has got a GPA of 3.87. You have some tremendous amount of scholars on your team, and I looked at it just about the whole UN model UN on there.
Well, that either speaks highly for us or poorly of the model UN. I'm not sure which it is. No, actually, the kids are very good kids. I don't think I can take a lot of credit for their academics, but they work very hard on their grades.
Well, and that's something that we take a great deal of pleasure in making the viewers aware of, too, Alan, and I know you do, too, as well, that these young men and ladies are not just soccer players, but they take their academics quite seriously. And it's real rewarding, I think, to, besides talking about a pitcher's ERA or a batter's hitting average, to talk about the GPAs, because let's face it, really in life, what's truly the important part of this?
Yeah. Well, it's like I always stress to my guys, the key term in soccer game is it is just a game. I mean, we want you to try hard and we want you to do your best, but the important thing is it is just a game. You have to enjoy yourself. The important thing is the schoolwork and getting along with your family and your friends. And I think most of the kids have realized the importance of that. There's Leonard. That's a great ball there down the wing to Lindsay. You'll probably see Leonard trying to get in the box now. He might have been a little better off to try to do a dive and header there. Josh Jones did a nice job of shielding him off the ball.
A lot of subtle play in soccer that doesn't necessarily come to the forefront, just this positioning on the different defensive positions, I'm sure.
Well, I think soccer, a friend of mine was talking about how he doesn't enjoy watching soccer. I said, I think soccer's a lot less like golf. Unless you've played it, you really can't appreciate the amount of work that goes into it.
Well, and the subtleties, as you were talking about. Where a young man is strong enough to not being able, you can't bump him off the ball, or somebody else shields somebody. It's almost like a pick in basketball is the way I look at it. But there's some subtleties if you haven't played the game or not aware of some of these things that you really don't get, you're missing a lot of the game.
Yeah, well, a lot of the times, especially for some reason at the professional level, soccer is not the most exciting thing to watch in the world. Like football, you can watch any professional football team, it's good to watch. Sometimes you watch a soccer game, it's enough to put you to sleep. I think sometimes soccer's strange. If you watch a good high school game, it's more exciting than some of the upper levels of competition because the kids, they take more chances, they're not as conservative, and sometimes it's more enjoyable, especially if you get two quality teams out there.
Well, this summer, of course, the World Cup is coming to America. I guess you probably are aware of that. I know an awful lot of people aren't, but that's going to be exciting. And, I was reading in the paper the other day that in spite of the normal response that most American fans would have of, oh, gee, big deal, that whole tournament is sold out. You can't get a seat for any of the contests of the World Cup. And they were talking, one of the stories was talking about these people who traveled thousands of miles for weeks and months and aren't going to be able to get a ticket to it because it is a sold-out event.
Well, it may be sold out, but there'll be some scalpers there.
Oh, yeah, well, they're getting $300 and $400 a ticket. But what I wanted to ask you, though, Alan, is one of the big problems with soccer on a high school level is the fact that you look across the field, you've got a few parents here, maybe a couple of friends, but you really don't have the following and you don't have the knowledge, if you will, of the general sports fan of the game of soccer. And hopefully the World Cup will help towards that.
I'm not really quite sure. Everybody keeps talking about it, and I'm not really quite sure. I think Americans enjoy the event. We're going to love the event. We could probably host, the World Ping Pong Tournament and sell out wherever they're going to play because Americans are sports fans. As far as you're talking about the crowd we have here tonight, well, let's be honest. This is not a critical game. When we played Hampton, there was a very good crowd here. And I tell you the truth, and I'm not trying to belittle certain Newport News schools, but I've attended some of the football game and counted the people there. It's like any sport. If you have two quality teams playing in a big game, you're going to draw the fans.
You're absolutely right. But the general fan, the guy who's going to come out for
anything,
you're not going to get him to a lot of soccer games, unfortunately.
No. A lot of that is a lot of the general fan types or just the athletic type. They didn't play soccer as a kid, so they have no interest in it. But they'll go watch every other sport. Now this next generation have come up that have at least been exposed to soccer. If they're sitting around on a Wednesday night at home and they hear, Hampton Kickingham are going to be playing each other at Darn Stadium, and it's free, I should probably go down there and see what it looks like.
Sure.
And if you have a big game, you'll draw people. Like next week at the stadium, it'll be packed. It'll be noisy, it'll be packed, the fans will be all over us, it'll be great.
And you'll have the true soccer fans will be there in strong attendance, as you say, because there will be contests that are going to be. We've done some of your games in the past. We did some at ODU year before last. We were over Virginia Beach last year, and certainly the crowds were large in number for those contests. There's no question about it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure when my one thing is I wish somehow Hampton and Kickingham could play our playoff game here, because I'm sure you'd have probably a tremendous crowd at Darwin Stadium.
Sure.
Why is it up at Cooley Field? Is it because it's their turn to host it, or is it a rotation?
We used to host the tournament here, and because our field is somehow shrinking, we decided to play a good game of soccer. We need to get away from here.
Well, I tell you why it's shrinking is because they make sure that they got the track. They've had to move the track a little bit more inside because of the running. I don't know, it was like they was running. They come around a curve and they'd run into the fence.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons that it's hurting you a little bit.
Well, actually, to tell you the truth, we could have a quality soccer field here. It's not in the best shape this year because they had a rough winter. But if you see that long jump pit on the other side, I'm not quite sure why that has to be inside the stadium. There's plenty of room over there to the far right. We could have built it, and we could have had a field. And the way Mr. Malloy is, with the way he works on the field, we could have probably hosted the States one time. That's trouble right there. That's a penalty kick coming up. The defender really had no choice there. The keeper was down. He made a nice save, and it was either handball or let it go in. At least now the guy has a chance.
Now, explain, if you will, that the Phoebus defender was in the box and could not play goalie.
We can tell from this angle, but he handled the ball.
Okay.
Okay. He didn't get to his body, so he knocked it down, and that's a very intelligent play because the ball was definitely in. So it's either, let's make them take a penalty kick, or it's a definite goal. So you take your chances.
Well, at least now you have a chance to stop it, where before, had he not used his hands, it would have more likely have gone in.
Yeah, I think the referee just red carded that player, which I think is not a good call. I don't know if the rule book calls for it, but in a game like this, you really don't need to do that. I mean, it's not like the kid went out and violently hurt somebody.
Now, red card means
I think he's out of the game.
Out of the game.
You can't put a substitute in for him. The thing is, though, you'll probably see Pete go nuts here right about now when he finds out his player was red carded. Okay, Pete's slowly heading for the referee. Okay. I don't think that was necessary. I know the rules say you're supposed to do that on an intentional handball, but it wasn't a violent foul. It's not a turning point in the game. Want to leave the kid in his last high school game and let him play. I think sometimes referees overdo the rule book.
Okay, they cannot substitute for him?
No, he's out.
Well,
Okay.
they can bring a player in numerically for him, but he cannot come back in?
No, they're playing a man down now.
They play a man
They
down?
play 10, that's what I thought.
Wow.
Yeah. I take it that's that young man's first goal of the season.
And who is that?
That was number 13 for Hampton. Let's see if we can put a name to go along with a number here.
Thomas Boland.
That's Tomas Boland from Sweden.
And by the time Thomas gets back home to Sweden, that will turn out to be a 40-yard rocket on a full volley.
At least. Well, that penalty kick gives Hampton now a 3-goal lead, and just as importantly, certainly, and I was not aware of it, again, not being particularly knowledgeable about the game of soccer, but now the Phoebus team has to play short a man for the duration of the game.
Yes, and if we had another game coming up, he would be suspended for the next contest. And I think that is a good rule where you remove a player
If it's a flagrant foul or something.
We've had games where guys are around here cutting each other in half at the waist, and the referee says, please don't do that again.
Yeah, that's...
So I think, sometimes the referees get a little overambitious.
But all he did was use his hand on the ball, and he said it was too intentional. Huh?
The reason the rule is so stiff is to prevent people from doing that. But the thing is, if he'd have done it out here in midfield, where the best thing they would have gotten would have been a 40-yard direct kick, I could see giving him a red card because he took away a goal-scoring opportunity. But to commit a handball and give them a penalty kick, which is about a 90% shot, this man, I don't know his name, he's a tremendous official.
Well, which one did it, the one in the middle?
Probably, yeah, actually the line's been called it, but the referee in the center administered the red card. And I think that, a harsh talking to would have been enough for that young man.
Pete Powell is beside himself. I'm watching his body language on the far side.
Yeah, I'm watching too. And he's young man. I wouldn't want him to get mad at me.
Well, I don't think he's mad at his player.
I know. I'm sure he's not at his player.
Okay, this is going to be dangerous here because Schaffner's getting the ball with a lot of room. And that's a good defensive play. That is not a foul. I'm sure Eric didn't appreciate it much. Number 17 for Hampton. I don't know his name. Oh, there's John's through again. Yeah, see, he's just too quick. He's too quick for Phoebus to handle right now.
That was John Leonard with his second goal of the game. Now Hampton has gone out on top 4-0 here in the first half.
The thing with John Leonard and Eric Schafter, I think both of them are going to be in competition for the Player of the Year and plus the Daily Press Player of the Year. I think it'll be between those two young men and Andrew Sarme from Lafayette High School. I'm not quite sure who I'm going to vote for. I'll probably have to see how they perform in the big games. But it's very unusual for a team to have two dominating players like they did.
Yeah, it is.
And they're both really good kids.
And it's Lindsey Sharp as well. So.
Lindsey Sharp's not bad. If he wanted to go to kick a 10, I wouldn't fight with him. As you're watching the game, see John Leonard, he's back in midfield, he's shifting over and he's waiting for he's picking his spots again because he knows in big games he's going to have to play the whole game and dominate. And Eric, he'll stay forward and conserve energy. Joel has just done a terrific job with these guys this year.
I didn't ask Joel how long he has been coaching over at Hampton. Are you aware of how long he's been over?
No, I know he's done some youth league coaching for the Phillips Association. His team, I know I think his 11 and under team is undefeated right now. But I'll tell you, I think when you inherit a team that has 2 gentlemen like that, that makes you a good coach right off the bat.
Makes you look good.
That's when I was helping the swim team this year, and they told me Julie Hudson was still around. I said, I'm a pretty good coach. I said, John just forced the throw in right there, and they probably have a dangerous situation here with a long throw in. But Lindsay's a little bit too open there. See, the problem right now with Phoebus is they're getting carried away with their low pressure defense a little bit. Okay, you low pressure until the 18, and then you mark up.
But you're playing one man short against a team that's number 2 in the district.
Seems a little unfair, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not helping. But I'll tell you the truth, with a team that plays low pressure, it's easier to hide that one guy. Whereas a team that attacks, like we try to do, if we lose one of our players, it hurts our whole offense because we try to play, a pretty good passing game. We don't always succeed, but we try to. They play low pressure, so they're used to playing most guys back on defense and just counterattacking with 1 or 2 people.
Oh, okay.
So if you could hide it, this would be the situation you'd want.
The lights have been turned on here at Darling Stadium as we approach the latter stages of the first half. Hampton on top 4-0 as John Leonard has scored twice for the Crabbers. Lindsey Sharp and Tomas Boland have also added goals for Hampton. And the Phantoms, as we mentioned, will be playing a player short. A red card was issued for an intentional handball. And the Phantoms find themselves trailing 4-0 and a man down. The Peninsula District Tournament, again, we want to remind you, for soccer coming up May 17th at Cooley Field at Lafayette High School in Williamsburg. And the contest, or at least the matchups, I should say, probably will be Lafayette and either Gloucester or Menchville.
Yes.
And the only set opponents at this point are the 3rd and 4th, Hampton and Kickintan. Excuse me, 2nd and 3rd, rather. And now we've had an infraction. What was the call there, Alan?
Okay, on the corner kick, when John went to attack the ball, one of his teammates pushed down a Phoebus defender. I'm not quite sure if I'd have called that because it really didn't interfere with the play. And John just hit a tremendous header. That was just a professional type header. It shot off his head like a rocket. This young man on the left wing for Hampton High School, he's improved steadily throughout the year. And he's a very deceptive player because, like I said, he knows his situation, and he'll get dangerous balls into the box for Hampton High School.
And that's number 16, is that
Martin, I believe, isn't it?
Todd Martin.
Todd Martin. Yeah. What grade is Todd in? Do we know?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do know. Well, it'll take us a minute to find it out, but we do know.
Kind of hoping Todd's a senior, personally.
No, he's a
I think
junior.
you're in bad shape.
Sophomore.
He's a sophomore.
Oh, well. Well, good
Gotta
luck
get
anyway,
these young
Todd.
men graduated.
Young man's got a B+ average. And he plays kicks for the varsity football team, so we may see him in the fall, too.
If you get a chance to watch him, he's very patient out here. And when he gets the ball in a situation where he can cross it, he'll go ahead and put it in a dangerous place. Like the Hampton kids do a great job of realizing they have 2 tremendous players on the team, and they try to get the ball to them most of the time. And I think one of the things that happens with Hampton High School is, and I've followed also, everybody's talking about Eric and John so much, you forget that they do have other quality players like Lindsay and Kevin Millette and Mr. Martin, and especially Adrian Check. Adrian Check is just a tremendous goalkeeper, and he's overlooked a lot. I think he's the best goalkeeper in the district, personally, and I'm going to vote for him for all district.
Adrian is one of the seniors on the team.
More good news.
He got a B+ GPA, and he's advanced courses. He's hoping to go to Virginia Tech in engineering.
So Adrian's also a very good field player.
Well, he says he averages about 9 saves a game, so that's says a lot because you don't really get that many if you're a good offensive team, the other team shouldn't get that many kicks on goal anyway, right?
Well, see, this is a nice pass there. Unfortunately, he kind of wrong-footed himself there. With Hampton High, the way they attack, and you'll see they'll send their whole midfield forward. They do get a lot of counterattacks, and they depend on Kevin Millette to get to the ball. But if he gets beaten, those 9 saves, I bet you 7 of them are quality shots. And I'll tell you, this Phoebus goalkeeper the other day, he made 4 or 5 tremendous saves against us. It's the district overall has a lot of fine goalkeepers in it this year, which is kind of unusual because usually you only have 1 or 2 good goalkeepers, but there seems to be goalkeepers everywhere.
But again, you have referred several times to the fact that there aren't as many great players, there are more good players, but I think this is something that's very positive, that the parity is showing its head now in the Peninsula District, because you're getting, I think it can be attributed to the fact that you have more kids that are more interested in the sport. It's developing at younger ages. The select soccer teams are probably more skilled now than they were before. What do you think about that?
I think he just hit a tremendous shot to Mr. Martin. That was a nice pass by John. And he probably should have taken a dive there. He would have got a penalty kick. See, that's a good ball. He knew he didn't have a shot, and he passed it. And that's not a bad shot. I must be psychic.
Never gave up on it.
No, he's tremendous. He's a good little player. He had a nice game against Menchville the other day. So that's the thing about Hampton. You have to pay so much attention to the big guns. You know, guys like him and Lindsay will sneak in on you. There's really nothing the goalkeeper could have done on that. He just popped that right into the support netting. I think Phoebus is a little dispirited now ever since they got that red card. Right about now, the referee's probably wishing he hadn't done it also. And you see Tato, I believe he tries to cut the ball back and actually gets fouled right there. That's a tremendous bounce. And he'll hit a cross in here there because he knew he didn't have a shot, and it pops right back, and just no hesitation. He just powers it. The keeper actually got a finger on that. That was a good effort.
Yeah, but it's amazing. You know, he never gave up on the ball the whole time he was down there. And as you said, he got fouled and he was spun around and everything else. But he had one goal in mind, and that was to get the goal.
Yeah, well, that's a sign of a well-coached team because a lot of players will sit there and cry and moan to the referee about, oh, I got hacked, or they'll lay there and look dramatic and think they're on the World Cup team. But he just kept plugging away. Here we go, yet another counterattack. Lindsay has too much space. This sweeper needs to step up here a little bit and not allow him a good quality cross. That was almost an own goal by Phoebus. He said, yeah, Phoebus looks a little tired right now.
Yeah, when you say the sweeper should set up, you mean the sweeper should attack the ball and take away some of the options.
Well, if you let any good player stand there with time, he'll pick you apart. Okay, same thing like in football. If you let the guy stand back there and you don't pressure him, no matter what his skill level, he's going to find a complete. Same thing in soccer. If you don't pressure a guy, especially a good player, and you give him time to make the pass, he's going to do it about 90% of the time. The idea of a sweeper back is, to pick up the loose man and attack the ball when you get near your goal box. I mean the penalty box, excuse me.
John, move.
That was a dangerous situation because Eric was wide open in the wing. I think John was trying to split the defense and get the ball to him. That's halftime, I believe.
That is our halftime, and halftime shows the Hampton Crabbers leading handily 5-0 over the Phoebus Phantoms. As we will take a brief pause, we'll return to Darling Stadium with the second half of action. Alan, Lindsay, we appreciate you coming by. If you can hang around for the second half, we'll be more than happy to have you with us.
Sure, if my throat hangs down here, I'll be okay.
All right, we'll return to Darling Stadium after this brief timeout. All right, back at Darling Stadium. The second half is just underway. Hampton leading by the score of 5-0 at halftime. Hampton in the red shorts, white shirts, and red numerals. And we do have several changes. Alan, we were talking about the young man is now going to be playing goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think Mr. Millette is making his debut as a goalkeeper.
That is the sweeper for Hampton.
He's a tremendous sweeper. I'm not quite sure about his goalkeeping skills. If I was Phoebus, I'd go ahead and put it in there and challenge him right off the bat. And they've done so, and he handled it nicely. And the crowd goes berserk. Well, most of the crowd. and Kevin's very happy himself.
We remind those of you that may have joined us late that one of the players, the name escaped me, for Phoebus was given a red card for an intentional handball. And Phoebus will be playing short a man for the duration of the game. And trailing 5-0 against a much stronger Hampton team, things would not look particularly positive for Phoebus. But to their credit, Pete Powell's squad is still out there and trying as hard as they may. Some discussion going on now with the officials.
I think right now, Phoebus realizes, of course, they're not going to come back and win this game. What they want to do is finish up the season strongly, come out and play a good, solid half, and try to play some soccer. At this point, it doesn't matter. You're not going to win the game, so go out and at least try to play some constructive soccer so the guys have something to build on for next year. And like right there, number 15 just tried a nice directional header to one of his forwards. It didn't happen to get it. But, that's good that they're still trying to stick with the good things and do fundamental soccer at this point.
We appreciate Alan Lindsay, the head coach over at the Kickintan High School soccer team, joining us. That is he who is speaking along with myself, Tim Cole, and Bob Hintz. And we have...
There's Pete Powell just blew a gasket yelling at the referee to get an offsides call. And I can't say I blame him. They had 5 people offsides and probably one of the managers. This is a tough game to officiate right now because it's a little bit out of hand, and as a referee you kind of relax and you don't want to lose control of things, but you miss little things like that. That linesman right now is going, well, I had dirt in my eye or something.
Well, see, to Pete, that's not a little thing.
No, not at all. And he was correct. They ran a terrific offside trap there. Like I said, they're trying to build on next season at this point. And like I say, Josh is a tremendous sweeper back, and he ran that very nicely. In fact, they called us 3 or 4 times.
Let's talk a little bit about some of these players on the Hampton varsity. Of course, Brian Milo is one of the seniors. He's number 1 out there. Tim, you remember him from football. Played a lot of football for Mike Smith, and he's going to attend Butler Junior College in Kansas and then hopes to go to San Diego State later on. Young man is in tremendous shape. You have to be to play the soccer. And Alan, we were talking about the almost nonstop movement of the players out there.
Well, Mr. Milo, being a football player, is going to get tired in a hurry because we don't have the benefit of sitting around for 30 seconds between plays. Right now, he's feeling pretty good. He had hit a tremendous through ball a minute ago that led to the offside trap, but it was a nice attempt by him to get a direct ball out of the back. That's the big roar from the Hampton crowd when you hit that nice pass. It's nice to see athletes come out, I guess, and just pick up the game for fun. And it's great for team unity to have somebody out there who's not a true soccer player go out and do something positive.
Right. We've talked about Adrian Checo. I want to talk about Damian Wilson, who is a senior. He's going to attend University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Thomas Bolin, senior, is one of the Tomas. He's this foreign exchange student from Sweden that we talked about. He speaks not only English and German and Swedish. So, Tim, if you want to check up on your German, go down and Thomas will converse with you. Isn't Cole German?
I speak more Swedish than I do German.
That last sequence when Phoebus was attacking with the ball, number 9, I believe, was Divine for Phoebus, beat several Hampton players. And he has good individual skills, and he was looking for a teammate there. I think that's one of those times where they're a little tired from being a man down. They weren't able to counterattack there. But if you keep an eye on him next time he gets the ball, he has the ability to take on players, which is very fortunate. Because a lot of younger kids are programmed out of having individual skills, and it's exciting to see a player who has that ability.
That's great. Talk a little bit about Eric Schaffner now. Eric is the leading scorer with 21 goals coming into this contest. I remember Monday's contest. He had 3 goals, had a hat trick. He was first team All-District last year, has a B average, and is hoping to go to Longwood and play soccer there. John Leonard, another senior, is the team's second leading scorer with 19 goals, and he's going to Bluefield College in West Virginia.
If our stats are correct.
Has that made Alan real happy?
Yeah, I know the Bluefield coach. I called him about 2 months ago, and I told him, I said, look, these kids don't play for me, but they're tremendous players. And he thought I was pulling his leg because you usually don't promote somebody else's players. But I happen to know a lot of the coaches in the area from when I coached, and That's the first I've heard John's going to Bluefield, and I think it's tremendous because that's an NAI program, and he'll go there and he'll be a star, and the coach will probably send me something for Christmas now.
Well, and also with his 2 goals in this game, he has tied Schaffner with the 21 now for the district lead.
All right, very good.
Oh, there's a nice attempt on goal there.
Jeff Bornstein is another senior. He's a class valedictorian, and listen to this GPA, 4.43. I mean, that's about off the Richter scale there. He's National Honor Society in math and science, just does everything. And he's going to University of Richmond in the fall. Joel Almquist, 17-year-old fullback, scored a goal against Warwick High School, which is unusual, I guess.
Why is that, Bob?
Well, he doesn't score that many.
No, because he's a fullback.
Okay, he's a fullback. Right, well, he's also a junior. These are all juniors for this Hampton team. Hampton's got quite a few seniors on their team.
Well, they have 7 seniors, according to Joel Moore. They have 7 seniors, they have 5 juniors, and 4 sophomores.
Right. Van Eugen is 17-year-old forward, has a 4.33 GPA, Tim. Advanced placement courses, plans to be a doctor and attend John Hopkins.
Well, let's save some of this good stuff for later on in the half. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, attempt on goal here by Mr. Devine. Oh, come on.
Phoebus with a golden opportunity, but can't capitalize on it.
Yeah, there's Schaffer with a nice clear, and John Leonard just a real intelligent thing there. He just played the ball away first time, and this is going to be trouble for the goalkeeper. Well done. He read that nicely, came off his line.
He really did. He came out and stopped even a chance for a kick on goal.
He's a fine goalkeeper, and he's had a good career. I'm not sure what year he is. I think he's a junior, I believe, for Phoebus.
What's his name? Real quick.
Just made another fine save, but we're trying to figure out who he is.
Well, he is, and I can't pronounce his name. Schultheis.
He's a senior going to J. Madison, and he's not a bad GPA, 4.05.
Not bad would be an appropriate thing to say, yeah.
Master of understatement. Chris is going to be exhausted by the end of this game. He's made some fine saves. I'm glad to see he's finishing out his career with a good game. Even though the score is 5-0, that's not indicative of the way he's played.
Not at all. His defense has really allowed most of those goals. He just never had a chance on several of them.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a matter of their defense playing poorly. It's just a matter of fact that they're bigger and better athletes, and that's just so hard to defend when a guy just out-quicks you to the ball. Here's John Leonard. I think he'll probably give this up to give one of the subs a shot on goal there. Who's that on the wing over there, number 4? He's making 9 moves. He's going to try to get a cross in here. And a corner kick for Hampton High. And a dramatic dive by number 4.
Damian Wilson was number 4.
He showed nice quickness there on the wing, and they got a corner kick out of it. This is going to be real dangerous. You got to watch John Leonard attacking the ball, probably from the middle to the back of the goal. They should have a man right on him and try to obstruct him on his run to goal. Just keep an eye on number 5, John Leonard. Okay, for some reason they played it near post. Hampton also has a long throw-in where Leonard will be dangerous. As a matter of fact, when we played them, this first goal they scored was a long throw-in. Okay. It's a good opportunity. It's just unlucky he struck as that man with the ball. So when you have a long throw and teams set up defensively like Phoebus did to defend that, and you shove one of your players forward and he can get the ball at his feet and try to turn and have a shot just as John did there.
You got to be a little subtle with pushing the players, though, right?
Well, John will give you a little elbow now and then, but it's all part of the game. I think last year, I think it was unfortunate. I don't think John made first team all district. I don't quite understand that. He was definitely one of the better players. It's one of those things where politics got involved. I know I voted for him because I thought he was a senior, and I was glad he was leaving.
You were
then
wrong.
he didn't leave, huh?
No, I was rather upset when I found out he was coming back yet again. He's had a terrific high school career, and I'm sure he'll do very well at Bluefield.
You're talking about moving on to college. What about some of your players that have graduated and gone on to bigger things? Alan, how are some of those fellas doing?
Well, as a matter of fact, I just saw Eric Long after our game previous to this, and he came by to congratulate us. He's up in Miami of Ohio, and I believe he was nice little breakaway here. Let me keep it reads it nicely. Eric Long is starting from Miami, Ohio. He was top 25 Division I this year, and he was also has like I think a 3.4 or 3.5 grade point average, and made academic all-region up at Miami, Ohio, which is a fine school.
Now, this is his first year up there or second year?
I don't know. All the years run together.
Putting you on the spot.
I wish he was still here. I keep looking around. Where's Eric Long?
Well, I was talking to
He's
you
been
earlier.
gone 2 years.
Will Sullivan, who is the coach at the Bruins,
Yes.
played for you at Kickingham.
He played, actually he played JV for me at Kickingham. Then he played for Kelly Alford. There's John Leonard, and that's dangerous. That's a nice composed play there. The other Phoebus player didn't just boot the ball away. He advanced it and then passed it to his teammate. That's the good stuff, and Pete's got to be really encouraged to see that. Yeah, Will Sullivan played for me at CNU, as a matter of fact. Back then it was CNC.
Right.
And he was a really fine player. He's done a terrific job with Bethel. Actually, I was anticipating a much closer game, but 3 or 4 of the goals we scored were kind of fluky in nature today.
Well, that one was like a Texas leaguer. It just went over the head of the goalkeeper. I mean, it was just
Yeah, I asked Chucky if that was a shot or a pass, and he said yes.
Yes, it was, Coach. Yes, I am. It was a shot after it went in.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and some of the other alumni that we've had at Kickingham are like David Bonde, who was the leading scorer for CNU. He's my assistant coach now. He was unable to be here because he had family commitments because he just graduated from CNU. But he's helping us out at Kickingham. And we have a tradition of alumni coming back and helping out at Kickingham. And it helps promote some of the tradition. And some of the guys came back and they were like, well, what's happening with the team this year? And I tried to explain to them that we're very, very young.
Right.
And these guys are going to be tremendous players when they get a little bit older and need a little more size on them and a little more experience.
Do you do anything as far as, I saw we got somebody hurt or something going on?
No, it's a discussion, I believe. Pete Powell was having a word or two with the referee, and I think he may have gotten an early exit.
No, what Pete Powell has done is he played most of the second half with 11 players.
He just got caught for it.
Yeah, and I'm sure he received a yellow card for it, and he's probably over there chuckling, laughing, and pointing at the crowd. Yeah, I didn't mean to do it. Yeah, Pete, right. Probably had 13 on the field against us the other day. But heck, I don't blame him. I'd have tried it anyway.
What the heck, right?
Hey, it worked, didn't it? Look at Pete. He's like, I really didn't mean to do that.
They've played 15 minutes in the second half with
Well, what he should do next time is sub 3 guys and put 4 in and see if he gets away with it again. I'm not encouraging cheating, but I really disagreed with that red card.
Hey, what has he got to lose?
Well, actually, he get thrown out of here, and he doesn't have an assistant coach, so we'd all be heading home early.
Oh, okay. One thing I want to ask you, though, I started to ask you before we got into that discussion was, your kid's getting strong. Do you have a weight program of any kind that you put your kids on for them to off-season or what?
I wait for them to get older. That's about it. Most of my guys are involved with so many other activities, whether it's academics, golf, cross country. We really don't have the time for it. And I'll tell you the truth, weight training's not that important. The main thing is getting the experience, going out and playing select or playing in the men's league, playing summer league. That's the important thing, because you can be a small player and you're not physically big, but be a tremendous player like that young man for Hampton, Martin. He's not a big kid, but he's crafty. He's able to shoot the ball with both feet. That's more important than being able to bench press 200 pounds. Now, if he could bench press 200 pounds, I'm sure Joel would be a lot more happy. But, it's one of those things. We'd prefer to have guys that are skilled rather than strong, because in a game like this, skill will beat strength most of the time.
Okay.
That's why John Leonard's so dangerous. He's big, strong, fast, and skillful, and he works real hard. But other than that, he's not any good whatsoever.
Alan, we were talking, during your game, we were talking about the fact, we were talking about mystiques and the fact that this year, because your team had no returning starters and because you were a relatively young team, that in spite of that fact, your team overachieved, if what you say was the case.
Yeah, very much so. And I tell you the truth, a couple of the games we lost against Hampton High, I'm not taking anything away from the victory, but we hit the crossbar 4 or 5 times, which you usually don't do in a season. And they were getting a yellow card for John Leonard, I think. I really hope the referee doesn't give him a red card. That means he wouldn't be able to play in our game. And the guys are really looking forward to playing against John.
If I was Joel, I would get him off the field and never have him on the field again.
The point I wanted to make, though, was we were talking about tradition, and I think one of the things you talked about is the fact that your alumni come back. And they do help out with the program, and they build
Now, are they sending him off?
No, he got a yellow card, and in high school soccer, when you get a yellow card, you must be substituted.
Okay.
Now, he should be nowhere near the field. If I was the coach, I'd tell him to take his shoes off, sit down, congratulations, you're not going to play. Because he gets another yellow card, he won't be able to play in the district tournament, which would be really unfortunate for him.
I'm sure that Joel is more than aware of that. But getting back to that, if I could finish that thought, I really think that that's one of the reasons why your program continues to do so well. You've got obviously a strong program in place. Do you have a feeder system as such from some of the select leagues?
Actually, we're starting to get one. We do not have a very, comparatively speaking, I'm not, downplaying anything that Phillips has done for us, but I'm saying you compare what we have to what Lafayette has and the beach schools have, we're years behind them. And it's probably going to remain that way, just the way the demographics of the city are. We don't have, those people that can invest $10,000 a year in their children playing soccer, which they do over on the beach. It's crazy. They send them to Europe and so forth and so on. And I'm not quite sure that's right. If you've ever noticed any of my teams, the guys play lots of sports. A lot of high school soccer coaches don't like their players to play other sports, and I think that's wrong. I mean, it's just a game. They should enjoy the whole high school experience. So with Kickotan tradition, and we played Hampton. They were very happy they beat us for the first time, and then Menchville went crazy when they beat us for the first time. I told my guys, you have to look at it as a compliment. There's been Peninsula District Soccer since 1977, and this is the first time they did it, and it was a one-goal game.
No question.
We were right in it. So you guys, you got to be very, very happy with what we've done this year. And I pushed this team a little bit harder than I pushed some other teams in the past, but the kids have been great about it. They understand that I just want them to excel. And most of them accept it. In fact, I think they feel like I'm not yelling at them. Well, how come you yelled at all the other teams? Don't you like us? I get a little bit excited sometimes.
I was looking over, we got a couple substitutes coming in for, look like Phoebus is bringing somebody, and I was looking, maybe he's going to throw 2 or 3 in and bring out 2.
I think Pete has played that card.
One of the things we also noticed during your game is that you seem to do an awful lot of coaching during the game. Is that something that is a normal procedure for all soccer coaches, or is it just Alan Lindsay? I mean, you, on several occasions, took 2 and 3 players out, and you seem to be instructing them on the sidelines quite vociferously.
Well, I think a team is a reflection of its coach, and I'm very enthusiastic, and I like for people to do their absolute best. And people don't believe sometimes that I don't get upset when we lose as long as we played hard.
Sure.
And we have lost games that we played very hard, and it doesn't bother me. Like, we lost 5-0 to Lafayette the night. I was not upset at all. We did the best we could. They're just a tremendous team. Oh, that's a nice bicycle kick there. That would have made that young man's life if he didn't have that.
Really. But that goes back to any coach, though, Alan. Any coach would be happy with an honest-to-goodness, all-out effort by his team. That's all you could ever ask for.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people think, because I have a bit of a reputation of being a bit of a hard case, but that's true to a point.
I don't know where they got that from.
Oh, gee, heck, I don't know. It's because I'm so quiet on the bench, I guess. But the thing is, because we are real young, I do a lot more coaching in game situations because the kids are young. They get a little frazzled and they forget. And I tell you the truth, any of the kids will tell you they would rather have me yell across the field to them, try this, and then take them out of the game and sit there and explain it to them.
Yeah.
And we don't have the luxury of timeouts here. So if I need Chucky Moore to stay a little deeper, the best thing to do is yell, "Hey, Chucky, you want to stay up there, please?" And when I take a kid out of the game, I always speak to them. Okay, so if I want to tell them why it's fresh in my mind and why it's fresh in their mind, what they did right, and maybe what they need to improve on the next time they go in the game. And something else I'm very big on, the guys sitting on the bench, pay attention to the game. So if I say, well, guys, did you see that situation? They understand and they can learn. And they're very good about it. They're very attentive on the sideline.
To Phoebus's benefit, they have not allowed a Hampton score here in the second half. We remain with a 5-0 score as we are in the second half, about halfway through the second half. And while we're at it, talking about all these GPAs and seniors and everything else, our director, Scotty Bowers, wanted us to be sure and make mention of the fact that Channel 5 will be covering all of the graduations And that is no small feat, I might add, because our crew works very hard for long hours setting up and doing those
And
graduations.
they're going to be there all day long doing those. And then, of course, that's going to be replayed on Channel 5 more than one time so that the people will be able to tape that, get a chance to see the youngsters graduating, which is always a big time in these youngsters' lives.
I think I'm going to attend the Hampton graduation, just to make sure John and Eric are actually leaving.
I do want to go ahead and talk a little more about the rest of these Hampton players. Tim, Brian.
And then I'll do some of the Phoebus players.
Yeah, do that. Brian Polite is number 8, has a B+ GPA. He's an advanced placement in analytic geometry and English, and he's
So you can't even say it, and he's
He's impressed me.
wow, it's like my son, some of the courses he's got.
And he's going to Howard University this summer in a leadership conference for just a junior. Lindsey Sharp, another junior, 4.32 GPA, advanced classes. Hopes to go to Duke and then on to medical school when he graduates. Jeff Johnson, another junior who also plays football and is in all AP classes and has a 3.4 GPA. And then just the sophomores run down. Kevin Millette, the young man, runs indoor track and also plays football. Chris Altman, another sophomore, B+ average. Todd Martin, sophomore, is in AP English and place kicks for the varsity football. And Larry Shepard, the other sophomore, in AP English and algebra, and B+ average.
A narrow miss that time by the Crabbers as the goalkeeper did a great job of coming out. He's fearless when it comes to challenging those attackers.
Well, he's very fortunate not to give up a penalty kick right then, because the way he went in with both feet, that could have been called a foul. I think what the referee's done is called the earlier foul when the guy nicked him on the way by. That's what I was talking about earlier about. But the referee is, because the game has been so one-sided, it looks like he's losing a little bit of concentration. And I personally would have blown the whistle the first time the guy got near the goalkeeper in this kind of situation. This is
Again on the attack.
Well, I don't know how many saves that young man has had down there, but he has really been busy as we watch the replay of that actions prior to that.
Yeah, I believe he's fouled right there. So the young man hits his arm, and that causes the ball to squirt out. And then here, watch, he dives in with both feet after the ball. You see how he caught the Hampton player?
Yeah, he could very easily hurt him.
A lot of referees would have called that a penalty kick.
Great camera work, fellas.
Now, also to mention some of the Phoebus players, Rich Donnery is the captain. He's number 15, and he'll be attending George Mason. Chris Schulteis, the goalkeeper. He is also a senior. He'll be going to James Madison and carries a 4.05 GPA. Rachel Linfield, a senior, going to University of North Carolina. She carries a 3.9 GPA. Adam Carley, 3.7 GPA, headed for ODU. Matt Devine is a senior, B+ average. Derek Dietrich, 3.13 GPA. He's a senior, undecided where he'll go to school. Andy Arthur is a junior with a 4.16 GPA. Mark Gunther, a junior, 4.17.
Well, there's a nice bit of skill there. He got a little cocky at the end, tried to flick it over him, but he beat two men nicely, and he showed a little bit of skill. Who is that young man for Hampton? Is it number 15?
15 for the Crabbers,
Yes.
Chris Altman.
Chris. And what year is Chris?
Chris is a sophomore. Sorry about that.
More bad news.
Maybe.
Continuing down the line here, Chris Batten is a junior, 4.36 GPA. These guys, if I took all my GPAs for 4 years.
If you took all of three of ours, I don't think you're going to come up with some of these things.
Jeff Fairchild, a junior with a 4.0 GPA. Tho Hung, a sophomore, 3.36. Josh Tucker, sophomore, 3.45. Josh Jones, freshman, 3.87. Brett Muir, a junior with a 3.5 GPA. Rounding it out, Tim Summers is a freshman, 3.15. Kyle White, a freshman, 4.0. And again, we really enjoy telling you the grade point averages for these players because it's more important, folks.
Yeah, the aging check, the goalkeeper for Hampton in the first half, I believe he's number 10, wandering around the middle of midfield right now. That's Adrian receiving the ball now. Here's a nice little touch pass by Adrian. He'll probably try to run and get in a dangerous position now.
But your point was real valid, though. If that young man gets hurt in this game, boy, that really hurts their chances in the district tournament, which means everything, and this game means nothing at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's nice that Adrian gets the chance to go out there and knock the ball around a little bit and have a good time, but I'm not quite sure I'd risk it. And plus, I don't know, I'd try to give another younger player a bit to play.
This is check, shot on goal, and a save.
Then, of course, if he'd have hit that in, I'd have been wrong. No,
you're not wrong very often, are you?
Well, I tell my kids I'm not, so. No, Adrian's a fine goalkeeper, and hopefully, Hampton will have a full squad when they play us, and it'll be another good game like the first one we had.
Tim, we want to let the fans know when the second showing of this is going to be on, because this is, hopefully they'll watch the first showing. This will be played the second time, when's that, Friday at 3:30.
Friday the 13th.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, Friday, Kickingham is going to play York at Bailey Field at 7 o'clock.
Here's that shot on goal by the goaltender turned field player.
Yeah, and there's yet another fine save by the goalkeeper for Phoebus. They were saying earlier, for those who are unaware of it, you have nothing to do Friday night because nobody else is playing soccer. We're going to play York High School, who's presently in first place of the AA district, and they're a fine team. We wanted to play another quality opponent before we went into the district playoffs instead of having a week off with nothing to do. So I thought I'd get my little plug in there. Now I'm done.
Well, good. The Friday the 13th, it's at York?
At Bailey Field at York.
What time is game time for that one?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
There's Adrian with the ball again. And it's unfortunate to lose it. There's Lindsay with either a tremendously deceptive pass or he missed at the ball. There's Eric Schaffner. Actually, Eric Schaffner could play sweeper and do a tremendous job at it because he is so composed and he's so skilled and he reads the game very well. So having him back there is not some kind of joke. He was offsides there. Adrian was about 2-3 yards offsides. The sweeper back for Phoebus, Josh Jones, I believe, he does a tremendous job of organizing. You take in consideration that he's a freshman. Usually your sweeper back does most of your organizing defensively and in midfield. And to be a freshman and do such a fine job speaks very well of him and his coach, Pete Powell.
You joined us late. You're watching Hampton and Phoebus in competition here at Darling Stadium. Hampton leading 5-0 on the strength of 2 goals by John Martin and 1 each by Todd Martin. I said John Martin. John Leonard. Lindsey Sharp has a goal. Thomas Boland has a goal, and Todd Martin the other goal. 5-0 Hampton. They led by that score at halftime, and it's been a scoreless battle here in the second.
Quickly, go, plenty of time. Plenty of time, man on.
Pete Powell's Phoebus Phantoms, as you said, trying to build something positive from this game and have played well in the second half.
You can see Josh has pushed forward to try to counterattack. I always like when the sweeper counterattacks to go ahead and give him the ball because usually he's running free. And at this point, I think Lindsay's stolen the ball, is trying to advance down the far wing. Phoebus done a nice job. See, look how many players they have behind the ball already. That's a key thing playing defense, is get people behind the ball and get your numbers back. See, that's a situation where on a regulation or even a little bit larger field, that's a nice ball played the wing. The thing that happens here at Darling Stadium and also at Todd Stadium, and to a certain extent Bailey Field, is the field is so narrow, it's basically a different game. When you go up and you play at Old Dominion in the playoffs, or we're going up to Cooley Field to play in the playoffs, you have to change your game. So it should be really interesting to see what kind of adjustments Hampton makes and what kind of adjustments we can make, because it is basically a different game, because the extra 15 yards in width just changes the whole nature of the game.
Well, I can see where it would be, because it's going to spread your offense and your defense out, and it means that you have to play with a different mindset.
Yeah, you have to have a little more composure because you can really just run yourself to death. That's a nice cross. He put it in a dangerous place, and the keeper picks it up nicely. But that was a fine cross because he put it right to the back of the sixes, which is one of the target areas usually when you're crossing the ball. But when you play on a wider field like we were discussing, when we play Hampton, it's going to be us trying to negate the speed of Hampton because the field is larger, it's harder to defend, and then it'll come down to we're deeper than they are. So I think if we can try, we're going to try to get later in the game with it a one-goal game or a tied, and then hopefully we can try to wear them out with our superior depth. Hopefully it'll just be hotter than you know what. So.
Get the weather on your side is what you're trying to say.
When you're playing against these characters, you need something. Yeah, I think Hampton's just settled down right now. They're just going to knock it around. If a goal comes, it comes. I don't think they're going to force it. And Phoebus, they're still trying hard. They're playing their basic low-pressure defense. They did this real successful for about 70 minutes against us the other night. And they did it very well against Lafayette, who's definitely the class of the district. So this is a good defense for them, and they'll probably employ it again next year. I don't think Lindsay's going to be happy with that one. I think right now we're just playing out the string. Sometimes the officials' clock will start to slowly creep forward magically, and the second half will get a little shorter. And I don't think Pete Powell would argue anything much. Or actually Joel.
Well, Pete's over there taking pictures. I don't know whether he's using this as evidence later on or...
He's making sure he doesn't get this referee again. Come here.
He's got a camera, and he's...
Well, Pete's got to be satisfied with the job that he's done. And it's much like the job Will Sullivan's done at Bethel. They used to not be very competitive in years past, but now, even though maybe they're not winning as many games as they used to, they're playing good soccer. And I think the kids are having a better time. Because even though this game is, a few goals on the hands, they're still playing the game, which is important. Phoebus practically single-handedly messed up the whole Peninsula District tournament by almost tying us the other day. Oh, my goodness. There's the young lady for Hampton High School. I don't quite know her name. She's not had an opportunity to score there.
What number is she?
No, she's probably the only girl on the roster, so I can't see that far.
She is...
Number 6.
We saw her name
There she is, right here. Von Newen.
No, I don't think so.
And we just had a goal scored here, and I missed the replay.
I saw her name on here earlier. There was a... Oh, well.
That's number 6. What is...
Ben Yun? Is that what you're saying it is?
Yeah, I thought that's number 6.
All right, that must be who it is.
Did we get a replay of that goal, see who scored there?
Well, they're giving high fives to number 17. Let's see if this is what... Here's your replay and see if we can pick it up. You and I were looking at rosters here.
Okay, I believe they're going to take a long throw in here eventually.
Might be a real long.
A long, slow throw.
Yeah, we had a little difficulty with that. That's why you have to pay close attention to begin with.
Well, one of us should have been watching the field. I'm an amateur. It's your fault. There's Phoebus taking a nice shot on goal. That's only been a foot over the top.
Was it this young man here, Tim? Number 17?
I believe that's who it was. At least that's who was being congratulated on our shot there. So I'm going to assume that it was Joel Almquist, and we'll give credit for the goal until told otherwise. Get a chance to... Well,
I think he may have thrown that directly into the goal.
You're not supposed to do that.
I'll tell you the truth. I don't think the goalkeeper touched it, so it shouldn't have counted.
Yeah.
You cannot throw the ball directly into the goal. I'm not sure if the keeper touched it. We had a situation where that occurred last year, where the goalkeeper and defender collided, the ball rolled straight in the net, and they awarded a goal, which is not supposed to be done. Here's Phoebus with a chance. And a good defensive play by Mr. Byron, is it? Milo. Here goes Adrian with another run forward. Lay it off, Adrian. That's going to result in another corner kick, I believe. So it'd be nice if one of the players for Hampton who hasn't scored a goal to get in a situation where they could try to knock one in here for Hampton. And when you get a player who hasn't played a lot and you're down, you don't mind as a coach if one of their non-starters scores a goal against you in a game like this. That's fine. And sometimes it bothers you when one of their stars scores yet another goal in a blowout. I'm not sure if Adrian meant it, but that was a fine ball back to Eric. Oh. I believe that was offsides on number 2 there for Hampton.
Winding down here, we should be in the last 5 minutes of this contest. We do want to thank the fine folks here at Darling Stadium for all of their help in our crew setting up. And there you see our cameraman and cameraman 2. That is Jerome Young holding for Ron Baton. And Alan Lindsay, we certainly want to thank you, the head coach over at Kickintown High School, for your valuable assistance in this coverage. We appreciate you coming by.
All right, well, it's, I appreciate having this opportunity to scout Hampton from this this nice view here, and I appreciate y'all taping them for me.
No wonder you said I'll come over so eagerly.
Oh, yeah. No, actually, I enjoy doing this, and I hope that everybody who watches this has a little patience if I mispronounce somebody's name or something. But I enjoy watching these other teams play. As a coach, it's nice to enjoy a game instead of having a heart attack on the sidelines. This young man's real quick. He had a good game against us last week, excuse me, number 21 for Phoebus.
Tho Hung, that's the young man who's
he's just a sophomore.
Yep.
No, he's a freshman, I believe, isn't he? Or he's a sophomore. You got it here.
Well, I'm going to leave now, gentlemen, so I can beat the traffic.
Yeah. You don't want to get hung up in the rush for the exit. Alan, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Alan. Thanks again.
6-0 in favor of Hampton, as the Crabbers will be taking on the Kickintown Warriors in the district tournament. Again, we remind you that'll be at Cooley Field at Lafayette High School next Tuesday, the 17th of May. First game will be, excuse me, the 2nd and 3rd seed, followed by the 1 and 4 seed. At least that's the way it's mapped out, and that 2nd and 3rd is going to be Hampton and Kickintown, and 1st and 4th likely will be Menchville or Gloucester taking on the number 1 seed, Lafayette.
It's
I believe it's 6-0, but I could have missed a goal.
No, I think it's 6-0. We had 5-0 at the end of the first half, and then there's only been 1 goal in the second half, Tim.
The Crabbers again on the attack. That'll be offsides.
Watch your back, Milo. Yeah, Milo. Yeah, Milo. Settle. Josh. Kevin, come on, Kevin.
The Phantoms hoping to break this shutout. Unable to get a shot on goal out of the play. Again, as much as Allen downplayed the fact that they played with 1 less player, it certainly doesn't help your cause when you're short a man.
It really doesn't, Tim, but you got to be real pleased the way they played the second half, and that goalkeeper for Phoebus has just been outstanding. Chris. I'm like, Schulteis,
I think. And again, Alan apologized. We even more so want to apologize if we mispronounced the players' names. And the fact that I was given false information about the goalkeeper for Hampton. I was told that Adrian was a female, and of course Adrian is not a female, and let's make sure we got that record set straight. Adrian Czech, very much a member of the male gender. So I apologize for that misinformation. And that is the whistle sounding the end of the game. So the Hampton Crabbers will advance, and they will be the 2nd seed hosting Kecoughtan in the tournament up at Cooley Field next Tuesday at Lafayette High School. Final score again, the Hampton Crabbers 6, the Phoebus Phantoms no score. For Bob Hintz, this is Tim Cole. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon, everybody.